So yeah, if you haven't already heard, been a little bit of an uproar from the international gay community about the Conservative government of Canada under Stephen Harper apparently nullifying thousands of international gay marriages. In other words, people that have come to Canada to have a same-sex marriage because they cannot in their own country. Lo and behold, there's some context that is missing from the story. So here I am. Canada legalized gay marriage federally across the board in 2005 under the Liberal government of Paul Martin. Now, there were some provinces that objected, mainly Alberta. However, eventually everybody gave in, and here we have gay marriage. Stephen Harper and the Conservative government came into power in 2006 after a big scandal with the Liberal government, but they had a minority government. Now, if you don't know what that means, essentially the Conservative government of Canada had more votes than any other party. The four parties that had seats, Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Bloc Québécois. Conservatives had more than anybody else, but they didn't have over 50% of the seats. And so they had to compromise with people in order to pass laws. Now, in 2011, Stephen Harper got a majority. I was always worried that when Stephen Harper got a majority, that gay marriage would be on the agenda. However, he said before the election multiple times, and he said time and time again now, that gay marriage is not going to be revisited as long as he is in charge of the Conservative Party. And I am very happy about that. And for a number of reasons. One, I don't think the public support of Canada would be on his side anymore, should that come up to the docket. Because, quite frankly, it's been 7 years and society hasn't collapsed around us. And taking rights away from people is a lot harder to do than giving rights to people. And so there would be some issue. And there would be some legal issue because now it's been read into the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Constitution, and I think the Supreme Court would have a little bit of an issue with people taking that away. So, no. Gay marriage is not going to be revisited in Canada. We have gay marriage, like it or not, it's here to stay. Now, there's been a little bit of an issue waiting in the tall grass for a time like now. So let me explain. People are coming to Canada to get married. They can't get married in their own state or country, and so they're coming to Canada. So, take for example a hypothetical gay couple from Texas, and they want to get married. So they travel all the way up to Canada, and they spend exorbitant amounts of money on this big gay wedding, and they get married, which is great for the Canadian economy because they just spent a shit ton of money in Canada. Awesome. Awesome. Boosts our economy. Wonderful. We like it. Now, they go back to Texas. Been 7 years. They sort of drifted apart. Really sad story. And now they want to get divorced. So they come back to Canada and they say, we want a divorce. There's an issue. Divorces cost money. Divorces have always cost money. They don't give money to an economy, they take money away because it costs money to process it. And so, there has been a law in Canada for a long time about marriage. Not about gay marriage, not about straight marriage, about marriage in general. And that law is that if you want to get divorced in Canada, you have to have lived in Canada for a year. The idea behind it being that you're going to pay taxes for a year, and that's going to offset any cost to have you divorced. So, where the issue is that Jimmy Bob and Billy here from Texas, they can't get divorced in Texas because Texas doesn't recognize their marriage. They can't get divorced in Canada because Canada can't divorce you if you haven't lived here for a year. And so their options are, option one, yeah, they're still married, but Texas doesn't recognize it, so they can still, be separated and live separately in Texas. Or B, live in Canada for a year together and then get divorced and everything's fine and dandy. Now, a lesbian couple has decided to go with option C. And option C for them was to sue. They have really no grounds for the lawsuit, but they're suing. And the lawsuit is more or less just to flag this law as an issue. Where the problem comes is that a federal lawyer who technically represents the conservative government, but isn't the conservative government, said something to the effect of, because they haven't lived in Canada for a year, and this is where the quote is cut, because their state or country or whatever doesn't recognize their gay marriage, they aren't technically married yet, and so they can't get divorced. Now, this is where a lot of gay activists, a lot of gay websites took that little blurb, said federal lawyer, okay, represents the conservative government, and ran with it. They're like, oh, Harper government nullifies thousands of gay marriages. Dan Savage said something, who I really respect, and I'm quite frankly a little bit disappointed that he said this without, looking into it. But he's like, oh, I guess I got to wake up my husband and tell him that we got divorced last night. No, you did not. It was a federal lawyer. It wasn't the conservative government. Was his statement objectionable? Absolutely. But that wasn't the government. So, the big red flag that should have been in front of everybody was that gay websites were saying that, but the CBC, the CTV, Canadian news agencies weren't saying that, because quite frankly it didn't happen. That's people reading into it. Somebody waves a red flag, and then people run with it, and they're wrong. Now we have a little bit of an issue, because there is a sort of unique aspect to gay marriage, in that Jimmy Bob and Billy from Texas can't get divorced in their own country because their country doesn't recognize it. And so, Stephen Harper had made the poor choice of words, but he said they're gonna reopen gay marriage, not to argue against it, but to see about adding a clause to allow foreign gay couples to come and get divorced. This is where I have a little bit of an issue. The issue I have is that feels like special treatment. I know it's a little bit of a unique situation, but it feels like special treatment. Now, what the Harper government may do to offset this is say, yes, you can get divorced, but you have to pay a fee because you haven't lived here. And if you have lived here, you don't have to pay that fee. That, to me, would be fair. I think everybody could agree that that would be fair. Obviously, some people won't want to pay money, but quite frankly, too bad. So, the moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is don't believe everything you read on the internet. Look into it. Think objectively. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.